Good afternoon. My name is Mark Harris, and today I will be your instructor showing you how to submit a code enforcement request for the City of Jurupa Valley. This training is designated for employees of the City of Jurupa Valley. This training video will be teaching employees how to submit code violation requests for service to the Code Enforcement Department of the city. By the end of this training, you will be able to submit requests to code enforcement, as well as be able to show concerned citizens how to submit requests on their own, so that way code enforcement can respond to the code violations in their neighborhoods. At first, I'm going to be using a PowerPoint presentation to discuss training concepts that guided the development of this training. And I do this so that relevant information can be on the screen in order to assist with a deeper understanding of the material. We will then switch to a screen share so that way I can demonstrate how to submit requests alongside the training, so that portion can be replayed for future requests in case the trainee forgets how to do so, or they simply cannot find the links on the website. So the first thing that really guided the development of this training is motivation. Motivation plays a key part in the training, as I will be explaining the reason why we're learning this skill and why it is important to know how to submit a request. Understanding the need for this skill is a key strategy to make sure that people want to learn this and that they're spending energy and effort in order to deepen their understanding so it becomes second nature to submit requests to code enforcement. Second, relevance influences this training as well, because it will relate this training to specific job functions for city employees. If this training was never applicable, then employees would simply choose not to learn this skill. However, if they understand just how often this skill is helpful in their job, then the learning will be able to stick a lot better and they'll be able to use the skill more often. Transference plays a key role because this training, well, it has to be able to transfer to the real world and it has to be able to apply in the real world instead of just in a training environment. Since this training can be done on the phone or on a web browser, it should transfer easily for the trainee. Repetition follows the rules of threes as well as the rules of sevens. A training for a new skill must be heard 3 times, and also it should be practiced 7 times for the new skill to really land. This training is designed for quick replayability, so that way the trainee can quickly watch as well as practice this skill, and they can do it quickly so the new skill can be learned much quicker. And lastly, this training encourages active participation, since trainees will be encouraged to follow the steps alongside the training. That way we can assimilate the new information that they're hearing with a hands-on experience that they can practice. So without further ado, let's submit a request together. The first step would be going to the City of Jurupa Valley's website, which I have left the hyperlink right here. I will be exiting this PowerPoint presentation, and we're actually going to go one page back. If you do a Google search of the City of Jurupa Valley, it'll bring you to this page, and the first link is jurupavalley.org. That will take you to the Jurupa Valley website, where we will be submitting a request for code enforcement. The objective of this training is to show employees of the City of Jurupa Valley how to submit a request to code enforcement. And the outcome of this training will be that you'll be able to submit a request to code enforcement on your own, in addition to being able to show residents of the community how to request service by themselves. This will often come up because residents will come into City Hall with concerns in their neighborhoods for code violations, and they'll be asking for assistance submitting code violations to code enforcement to be able to resolve the issue. And this will happen every single day. However, if you're able to show them how they can submit a concern on their own, that will be able to free you up so that way you're able to accomplish your task for the day in a quicker fashion. So I highly encourage you. This can either be done on the My Harupa Valley app, which let me get that information for you real quick. That's going to be the main screen right here where my mouse is. You'll see right here where it says Start Request. That'll allow you to follow along if you're using the app. However, if you are following along from the web browser, our first step is going to be selecting this link right here, reporting a concern. And again, if you click on the link, it'll ask if you want to download the app with a QR code. That is one way to do it, so that way you can submit requests on the go, or if you are away from a computer. However, it's not necessary like we're doing right now. You can submit a code violation by clicking the link right here on code violation. And you can submit requests for service for any code violations if you wanted to search up the name of it specifically. So let's say there is a homeless encampment that you wanted to report. You can go homeless encampment on public right-of-way, or you can select homeless encampment on private property. Let's say there is a vacant lot next to your house. You can request a weed abatement ordinance, so that way code enforcement can get the property owners to cut the weeds. Another one that is quite common, if you have abandoned vehicles that are parked on the street, you can report this to code enforcement. That way they can see if it's truly abandoned. Most of the time the vehicles get moved. But the one that we'll be using for our purposes is graffiti. Another thing that I wanted to show you is you can actually go right here to topic area request. If you do not know the exact wording, this gives you a list of different requests that you can submit. So in this case, if I couldn't remember the word graffiti, but it was vandalism, we can click on the link right here. The next step will be filling in the location. So you can do it one of two ways. You can either drop this red arrow onto the location and it'll autofill for you. Or let's say you don't know exactly where it is in the city. However, I know that this is on Van Buren Boulevard in Harupa Valley. I can simply just type it in right here. However, since I'm not using an exact number, I am going to use the red arrow. And let's describe the problem in detail. This is optional. However, we always recommend that you describe it as best as possible, or you get the information from the resident for the best description. Because if you are not specific, then it may be too vague for code enforcement to respond to. However, in this case, I did see graffiti on my way to work, and we're going to report it as graffiti on the northbound lane of Van Buren. Another thing you can do is you can put an image right here. I don't have an image of the graffiti since I was driving, so I could not obtain one safely. But if residents have any images that they would like to submit, this is again another way that you can be specific for code enforcement, so that way we can resolve the issue more quickly. And the last step, you don't need to do this, but we'll be hitting submit. You'll have to fill in your contact information. This is not necessary though. You can report it anonymously. So we are going to report that anonymously, and you'll receive a request code, which that'll allow you to follow up on if you would like updates on the case. And otherwise, that is how you submit a request to code enforcement in the city of Harupa Valley. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day.